Please turn to page 210. This video will give you an in-depth background on writing details. Please notice that on page 210, I've separated the details out into two boxes. The top box is basically how you can start your details. The bottom box is for expanding details. This could be at just the one sentence level, or you could expand by having many sentences for one detail. The top box is for starting details, the bottom box is for expanding. In the top box, there's two different ways that you can start details. You can use both of these at the beginning of your details, or just choose one. Most of the time, we will be using the secret formula S light bulb. Subject, and then notice I'm going to put a D in this light bulb. What detail are you going to say about the big idea? That secret formula will help us form a sentence. Also in the start box is define it. Many times what will happen is there may be some vocabulary that a reader needs to have the definition of. Typically, we give definitions right near the beginning so that they understand what those words mean. You don't wait later in your writing to give what a definition means. So, starting details, we'll have our tell about, S light bulb, and or define it, give a definition if there's any vocabulary. Let's look at the expanding options. In expanding, we're going to look at describe it. If my reader needs to see that the subject or see this detail, then I need to go back and give a description so they can vividly see the detail. List it. This is when I need to tell more information to my reader about the detail. And notice when I say list it, that means I could say, what else will I tell my reader about the detail? Or I will give a why, a how, a when, or a where. So this is information. These are those questions that need to be answered about a detail. And finally, back it up. Does my audience need evidence to back up this detail? And evidence could be an example, a fact, a quote, a statistic, an anecdote. These are different ways to back up information. We now have our start details and expand details. We're not going to use all of these types of details typically. These are just all the different types of details that you would choose from when you're writing information. It gives you some sort of way to figure out, how am I going to tell my reader this information? First I start my detail, and now I expand if it's needed. Let's use a paragraph organizer so that I can show you how these details work. Before we go to our example, look at page 211. This is a handy reference sheet that you can use in order to have words that will help you expand your sentences. If you're going to say what else, why, give examples, tell the time, when, or where, these are some words that will help expand your detailed sentences. It's another little handy reference sheet for you to use so that your students have access to those types of words. When we walk through the steps for using details, make sure you're looking at page 210. In order to cover all these details, I need you to grab a piece of paper. We're going to make some sample organizers and walk through the steps of how to use the different types of details. Let's pretend that you have a long sheet of paper, an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that you're putting in the rectangle position, and you have your typical organizer, the top, the middle, and the bottom for your introduction, body, and conclusion. And we already know that SS light bulb is our topic sentence. In this case, for our first example, let's say our subject is going to be matter, and our big idea is that there are 3 states of matter. We know from what we've worked on in our organizers is that once we have our big idea, matter, there's 3 states of matter, we go back, we orally rehearse this. There are 3 states of matter. Then we have to go to the body and we have to organize the body. Do these have to be in a certain order, or can they be in any order? They can be in any order. So we know that we have to then figure out how many boxes. So we say, big idea, there are 3 states of matter. How many detail boxes are we going to make? There's solid, liquids, gases. So we state what those details are, 3 boxes. We have our 3 boxes now in the body. We always then put a starter line so that we have a place for a transition word. And then we always put down either a keyword or a simple drawing for the idea. We are not forming a sentence yet. So my first box, I may have the word solid here. My second box, liquid. My third box, I may have gas. I've labeled, I could have drawn or labeled the ideas in these boxes, but the critical point is that I have the body, I've organized the information, and I've put the idea in the boxes. We have the ideas in those detail boxes. This is where our detail sheet, choose how to start details, is now going to help you create sentences. Sometimes the kids can put the ideas in the boxes, but they don't know how to turn that into writing. Let's go to our top box, how to start details. Our detail was solids. We know that we're going to be writing about solids. I need to tell about that detail. Do I need to define it? No, I don't need any definition. So all I'm going to do is my detail, secret formula, S light bulb. Let's go back to our organizer. So if I have S light bulb, and I don't need the kids to write that secret formula there. I'm just showing you as we're doing this. S light bulb, who or what is this information about? It's about the states of matter. What detail are you telling about the states of matter? Can be a solid. So now I need to say this into a complete sentence. One state of matter, or, I said state already, maybe I'll say form. One form of matter is a solid. There's our complete sentence. I don't need to have a definition, so now I'm starting off my details and I have one form of matter is a solid. And my starting word was one. I have my detail sentence started there. Next thing I need to do is go down to the bottom boxes. So let's go back to page 210. And I need to ask, do I need to describe what a solid is? Yes, because we've been learning about solids at the level of molecules. We're not just saying something that's a solid that I see with my eyes. We actually can describe it at the molecular level. So we're going to go back and talk about molecules and how they make a solid. So we need to describe the molecules in a solid. Do I need to also tell any more information? What else about those molecules? Why do they make a solid? How? When? Where? Yes, I do need to tell more information about that. So as I describe, I will tell how these molecules that I'm describing that are tightly packed together, how that makes a solid. And finally, do I need to back this up? Do I need to give evidence, an example of a solid? Probably. So now I go back to my organizer and I say, one form of matter is a solid. Let's describe what that solid looks like. So at this point, I'm going to draw a bunch of molecules to draw a picture of what the reader should see and talk about how the molecules are tightly packed together. So I'm going to write tightly packed together and also how they're vibrating. So these vibrating molecules are tightly packed together. And that means that they're going to create a definite shape. They don't lose their shape. So we will have one form of matter is a solid. Solids have vibrating molecules that are tightly packed together so they don't lose their shape, or so they keep a definite shape. Excellent. Let me tell more about this shape that they keep, this definite shape. These shapes have certain properties. So now I'm going and telling you more about these shapes. They have certain properties. So far we have starting our detail. One type of matter is a solid. It's a solid because its molecules, its vibrating molecules, are tightly packed together. Solids have certain properties that keep their definite shape, like hardness, strength, or they stretch. Excellent. So I've told more now about that detail. I have a description, I'm telling more. Remember, I'm only giving details that need to be given to tell about this information. I may not need to use all my expanding details. In this case, I did. Because I'm now going to the bottom and deciding, do I need an example of this? Yes, let me give an example of real life of a solid. So maybe in this place I'll say, I'm going to draw a picture of silly putty and talk about how silly putty can stretch. So I'm drawing a picture of that. Silly putty can stretch while concrete is hard and has strength. So those are my examples, both being solids, but they have different types of properties. I now would go over to liquid, and what would I do? I would start my sentence where I would have my subject, another form of matter or another state of matter is liquid. Then I would describe what a liquid looks like, tell more about it, the properties of a liquid, and finally probably give some examples of different types of liquids. And I would do the same with gases. So notice, let's go back to our page on 210. Notice what we have is we have our starting your topic sentence, and then you have to decide what do you need to add to these sentences. Do I need to describe, tell more about, list, or back it up? Let's look at my hand signals that I can use when I'm writing my details. Starting details. If I need to tell about my detail using S light bulb, then I'm going to use 2 fists. Who or what is my detail about? What about my detail? What detail am I telling you? These are my 2 fists that will make the subject and the predicate a complete sentence to start your details. The second one is define it. That's where I will put 2 fingers like this, like equal signs. Do I need a definition? So we will have tell about it. Tell about your detail. Who or what is it about? What about it? S, light bulb. And or, if you need a definition, define it. Finally, once you start your details, then you can ask the kids, do we need to describe it, list it, tell more about it? Do we need to back up this detail? So, to expand details, do we need to describe, list, tell more, or back it up? And you'll choose which ones you need in order to tell the information that you're writing about. Go back to your blank sheet of paper. Let's try one more paragraph just so that you can get a hang of how to put these details together. You have your organizer, introduction, body, conclusion. We have our SS light bulb. And this time, let's say that our paragraph is about plants. And what's the big idea about plants? Plants disperse their seeds. So we'll have disperse, and there's a seed. And why do they do that? Because in order to grow, they need more room, more light, more minerals, and they can't have their seeds nearby the mother plant. There's not enough room, so plants have to have ways to disperse their seeds so they can have enough light, minerals, and room to grow. So our big idea is plants disperse their seeds in many different ways so they have room to grow. We go to our body of our organizer. What's the first thing we need to do? We need to figure out how we're going to organize these details. Do they have to be in order or they don't have to be in order? They don't have to be in order. I'm telling you different ways a plant can disperse its seeds. So we're going to say plants, all the different ways it can disperse its seed. Wind, water, as a hitchhiker, as a fruit. So we have 4 different ways, and there's some others, but we're just going to do these 4. So we have our 4 boxes, we put a line, and we always record our idea first. So I may be drawing some wind here. The next one was water. The next one was that they're a hitchhiker. So I know that they had like these prickly parts to them. And finally, they were some sort of a fruit. So I'll put a fruit there. Let's go back. Once I record the idea, what do I need to do? We need to start our details. The first detail is wind. I need to tell how wind will disperse the seed. Do I need to define anything? No. So I'm just going to use S light bulb. Who or what am I talking about? The wind. What am I talking about? The wind. The wind transports seeds. So I'm talking about the wind, and what does it do? The wind can transport seeds. So I'll put a seed up here. Go back and let's see, do I need to expand on the details? Do I need to describe how the wind does that? Tell more, list out. What else does the wind do? Or why does it do it? Or how does it disperse the leaves? Ooh, how does it disperse the seeds? Oh, I probably need to explain how it does. And do I need an example? Yes, I'll probably give an example of a seed. So now that I've decided on what kind of detail, where I'm going to say how the plant disperses its seed, and then I give an example, I can go over here. The wind will disperse seeds. How do they do that? Their seeds are like wings or like parachutes. Ooh, I'm not just telling why, I have to add also a little description in here. So let's mix that together. Some of the seeds are flat and they're like wings, and some are like parachutes. So let's make like a parachute here. So they can fly. So I'm adding description and telling why all together. The wind will transport seeds because they have flat wings or because they are feathery and have parachutes to make them fly. Excellent. Let's now give an example. So we'll do a dandelion. A dandelion has a parachute for its seed, and when a wind gusts, it blows away from the plant and it can travel for miles before it safely lands in order to have its home to grow. We have all of our different ideas here. Is it every seed is going to use the wind to travel? No, so I should probably say many seeds. Now let's say our sentences. Many seeds are transported by the wind. Ooh, so I changed that around a little bit. Many seeds are transported by the wind. I think I also need to describe here small seeds, because these are not large seeds that are carried in the wind. So many small seeds are transported by the wind. Some have flat wings or feathery structures so they can fly. The dandelion has a parachute that carries it away from the mother plant, where it eventually lands miles away to grow in its new home. Excellent job. We have all of our information there. So notice I'm putting the information, I'm going back, I'm rereading it over and over until it sounds good enough. I can mix some of the ideas together and I'm ready to go. But the first thing I needed to do was ask myself, how am I going to start this? Then I need to ask, do I need to describe anything? Do I need to tell more information about this detail? Do I need an example? I want to keep that in my head as I'm trying to write out all of this information. Let's go back one more time. Start your detail. What do? We have our secret formula, S light bulb, and or we could write a description. Let's expand on the details. Do we need to describe, list out, tell more about them? Do we need to back them up with an example, statistic, an anecdote, with a fact? I've given you some sample details using our organizer, and this is your way to walk through with children as they're filling in their organizer how to determine what information they need in order to tell about the big idea. Please turn to page 212, 213. These are large visuals that you would show children as you're trying to determine how to write the details. Once you recorded the idea down, what it is that you need to tell your reader, how are you going to form it into a sentence? I have the large visual here. Tell about the detail. S light bulb, our secret formula. And or define it. Do we need to have any definitions in this detail? Open up your little visual for your students to see. Expand details. Do we need to describe? Do we need to list more information? Do I need to back up my details with an example or a fact, a statistic? And also on the facing page, if I am expanding my details, I have some keywords here that students can use as a reference in order to expand their sentences. This is a wonderful visual for you to show children as you're trying to start and expand your details. These detail pages in your instructional tools are for you to have those strategies to teach your children so that their details are about the big idea and they expand and give more information to the reader. I hope you enjoy this video and it helps your students write details that are cohesive, coherent, and stay on topic.